I've been thinking about all kinds of stuff that I've been thinking about for the past few months and how it's all tying together regarding acceptance versus rejection and shame and validation. And I'm thinking about how everyone that you come across is capable of anything. They're capable of basically becoming any version of themselves. And if you spend too much time around a certain person, you'll end up mirroring them. And I feel like, so we all grow up being validated for certain parts of ourselves based on what our parents can deal with the easiest. Like say you had a parent that was extremely anxious, so they would likely punish you for being super enthusiastic and like startling and loud and things that would rattle their nerves. So you grow up then repressing the side of yourself who is like that, who's like very erratic and non-considerate. And in order to gain your parents' approval throughout the course of your life, you always have to adapt your personality in ways that accommodate their nerves. I feel like this happens to everyone subconsciously as we grow up. And then we grow up thinking that we have a certain personality type. But our personality type seems to be like a direct reflection of who our parents need us to be, who our community will accept us to be, and who we think we need to be in order to get love and approval. And so we will, like, I hear stuff about like unconditional love and how people desperately want unconditional love, but there's like in almost all situations and throughout almost everyone's upbringing, their survival depended on conforming to the standards of what other people could tolerate. So in many ways, people are goddamn like fucking 10,000 cars driving by as soon as I start talking. So, and now I can't even think. I swear. But anyway, I was thinking about how our judgments of other people, especially as adults, when we grow up into people who are we judge certain people for things about themselves, it's just reflecting a side of ourselves that we are scared of growing into because our parents, our communities, or the religious cultural belief system that's in our area won't support it. And I'm thinking now about how when I go through certain periods of life where I am extremely judgmental of certain people and I don't want to be around them and I even want to like get rid of them and cut them off from my life entirely, it's because something in them is like, everybody has traits about themselves that either rise to the surface or sink to the bottom of their subconscious. Basically, it's unintegrated, it's unrecognized, it's definitely uncelebrated and unwelcomed, because it's not in agreement with what kinds of traits are seen as acceptable from their upbringing, Like if people want to stay connected to their families, then they will usually have to really segment their psyche and segment their personality. I feel like I've talked about this in different videos before, but I'm wording it in different ways. You'll have to basically disown parts of yourself in order to be in agreement with your family traditions, your family system, and be cared for by your parents. I think of how it's extremely difficult to overcome this, and many people don't even want to. I think of how I had a religious crisis last November, and I was literally in my closet rocking back and forth. I felt like I was in like a trance. I was like so fucked up because I was overcoming religion when I was born into religion. I grew up religious. And so it was extremely painful to reject something that was part of my upbringing, which was actually extremely detrimental and very like limiting. I can't even. So I'm starting to think about how whenever I think I hate someone, it's mirroring back to me how we are capable of becoming anything. We're capable of becoming any version of ourselves. If our survival once depended on conforming to a certain standard, and then we enter like a different community, or we enter a different we're exposed to a different way of living. If our survival depended on the new way of living, then we would have to like conform to what their beliefs are now. And now I'm thinking about how we have a lot of judgments about what is good and what is bad and what's like evil and what is like righteous. It seems like at baseline, nothing. I've never driven in this area before. It seems like nothing at baseline is either good or bad. Our perception of what we think is good or bad is pretty much dependent on the area that we're in, the family system that we're in, how much our survival is dependent on following a certain standard. But if our survival didn't depend on it, then we would like have this like existential crisis. We would undergo some kind of subconscious change. Yeah. And I'm also thinking about how painful reintegration is. And how much fear is involved in it a lot of the times. The solar eclipse in Aries and all those planets in Aries was in my 7th house. That's the 7th house is your shadow self, the side of yourself that is unintegrated. And it's usually left unintegrated in your own psyche to the point that you will seek out partners who are the embodiment of your own repressed self. And I'm also thinking about validation. The things that we are validated for, I feel like when we get validation from somebody, it gives us like a dopamine rush. I don't know where the fuck I am. And I'm also starting to see how if my mind has gotten too rigid and I start to think that only one way of living or meeting a certain standard is the only way to live, the universe will usually wield in a situation into my life that like puts me in a different playing field, to the point where my survival now depends on me expanding my horizons and changing my mind and validating a different way of living. Apparently this road gets on the highway. I'm done talking.